All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel again. Thank y'all so much for coming over. Got this video here. It says at age 76. Now look, this is the title. All right, the title I'm reading, because a lot of people be like, it wasn't this, it wasn't that. This is what the title says here. At age 76, Samuel L. Jackson names 5 actors he hates the most. It just makes me think, because I'll be like, I always talk about how you never seen like Rihanna and Beyonce do a song together. I'm just wondering, is there some actors out there he refuses to work with? We ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
I can fix that for you if you'll let me. If your ego is not too precious, then all I'm doing is making your movie better.
When he was sending me Django, he actually didn't want to tell me that I wasn't going to be Django.
Well, I'm not Lawrence Fishburne, and I was not in a commercial, and I'm not that other black guy who's in that commercial, or I'm not the black guy who's in this other commercial.
At 76, Samuel L. Jackson has had it, and he's finally calling people out after decades of dealing with Hollywood politics, fake smiles, and backstabbing co-stars. He just revealed the 5 actors he can't stand.
I can conjugate, and a lot of people can. So I don't need you to write black vernacular for me. I can say what you want said, but you need to say it this way.
Fans always sense the tension, the side eyes, the subtle jabs. But now, the gloves are off. From shady set drama to career sabotage, Samuel isn't throwing shade. He's setting fire. And the names? You won't believe who made the list.
I grew up in the segregated South. When folks start talking about, how you feel about it? Heard it all my life. Okay, now what? Do you think he has a right to, he's a writer, he has a right to write anything he wants to write? I don't censor people.
Hollywood just got real uncomfortable. So let's get into it. At 76 years old, with a career spanning over 5 decades and more than $27 billion in global box office earnings, Samuel L. Jackson is more than just a Hollywood legend. He's a force to be reckoned with. He has a razor-sharp memory, and at this stage in his life, he's done pretending to play nice. His voice is iconic.
I don't even know if it's like cool nowadays to be considered a Hollywood legend, man. With all the stuff that goes down in Hollyweird. You know what I mean?
His eyes see straight through the lies and politics of the industry.
He gonna stay in the big house? Steve, he's a slaver. It's different.
But today, we're going beyond the Marvel paychecks and purple lightsabers. We're uncovering the side of Samuel L. Jackson that Hollywood rarely talks about, the one who rewrote the rules and refused to be controlled. Think you know Samuel L. Jackson. Think again. This is the man who turned down Steven Spielberg, not once, but twice.
Really?
He demanded George Lucas change Star Wars canon to fit his vision, and when Marvel tried to lowball him, he told them to double his paycheck. Or they could forget about Nick Fury. And topping the list of the people he's called out, Spike Lee. It's the Hollywood feud nobody wanted to admit, but everyone knew was real. 2 of the most influential black voices in American cinema, Samuel L. Jackson and Spike Lee. Once hailed as a dream team of black storytelling, their relationship turned icy, bitter, and deeply personal. And when Samuel recently dropped his list of the actors he hates the most, few were shocked to hear Spike Lee was number 1. Why? Because this wasn't some petty disagreement. This was betrayal, pride, power, and a decades-long Cold War that Hollywood insiders tried to ignore, but couldn't.
How long have you guys known each other? Wow, since 80. Wow. I was doing Soldier's Play when I met Spike. So maybe 84, 5.
Back in the late 1980s, Spike Lee wasn't just a director, he was a cultural movement. And one of the first actors to ride that wave was a rising Samuel L. Jackson. Spike gave Sam his early breaks, casting him as leads in School Daze, 1988, then giving him the unforgettable role of Mr. Senor Love Daddy in Do the Right Thing, 1989. From there, the duo teamed up again for Mo Better Blues and Jungle Fever, where Jackson's portrayal of crack addict Gator was so raw and real, the Cannes Film Festival made up an award just to honor it. That's right, Jackson's performance was so intense, Cannes invented a Best Supporting Actor award, despite not giving one for a decade. And they've never done it again since. That was the level Samuel was operating on. That was how strong the Spike-Sam creative bond seemed. To fans, it looked like the beginning of a legendary director-actor dynasty, the next Scorsese and De Niro, but louder, blacker, and bolder.
First of all, Spike, so glad you're sitting down. After 18 consecutive home losses, the Knicks won tonight. I repeat, the Knicks won tonight.
But just as quickly as it came together, it fell apart. Everything changed in 1992. Spike Lee was gearing up to make his magnum opus, Malcolm X, the epic biopic of the civil rights icon. Naturally, he wanted Jackson involved. He asked Sam to audition for Baines, the character who introduces Malcolm to Islam in prison, a pivotal role. Jackson auditioned. The part was offered, but then silence.
Samuel L. Jackson, where are you?
152 movie titles.
27 billion in box office. More than any other actor.
Instead of a confirmation, Spike got a call from Jackson's agent. Sam was turning the role down. Why? Money. Spike had offered Jackson scale plus 10, the bare minimum salary allowed by the Screen Actors Guild, plus 10% for the agent. For a rising star who just lit up Cannes, it felt like a slap in the face. Jackson rejected the offer outright. Spike Lee took it personally. He wasn't just disappointed, he was offended. What bothered me was not that he didn't want to do the film, Spike said, but that he had his agent call me. I thought we had a relationship. To Spike, it was about respect. He expected Sam to call him directly, but to Jackson, the so-called relationship felt more like an expectation of blind loyalty. Years later, when Jackson was asked about the fallout, he didn't sugarcoat it. It wasn't the most pleasant conversation, Jackson recalled. He said what he had to say, and I kind of laughed at it. What really pissed Sam off was the tone. Like Spike expected gratitude and obedience because he gave Jackson his early roles. Jackson made it clear Spike didn't make him. They built each other up. And if anything, Spike should have recognized how much.
I can see that. I can see that. He's saying we helped each other out, but he's feeling like he did more. Okay. Because I'm like, man, like how did some of these beefs, and it's like, man, at the end of the day, y'all all getting money, but it'd be like deeper than that stuff that be going on behind the scenes. But, it's all part of Hollywood, I think.
Jackson brought to his films.
Samuel, apparently you have recently lost your title as the highest grossing actor of all time.
Yeah, I've been displaced.
By
Harrison Ford, again. I displaced him, he displaced me, but hey, it's only 70 mil.
And then Jackson really went in. He pointed out that Spike was pulling 4 paychecks from Malcolm X as director, writer, producer, and actor. Meanwhile,
Damn.
he expected his actors to work for peanuts. You want to pay me scale while collecting 4 salaries? Hell no. In fact, let me play your role and make some real money while I'm at it. That kind of blunt honesty, it didn't go over well. To add fuel to the fire, Jackson made another thing clear. He earned his place. And if Spike couldn't pay properly, or even offer a back-end deal, then Sam had no reason to stick around. He wasn't some struggling stage actor anymore. Hollywood had started calling, and Jackson wasn't going to miss out. In fact, just as the Malcolm X drama was unfolding, Jackson got a call from his agent. You just won an award at Cannes. For what? Jungle Fever. They made up a category just for you. And with that, Hollywood started knocking. Jackson accepted a role in White Sands, a gritty thriller with Willem Dafoe and Mickey Rourke, instead of Spike's historical epic. It was a bold move, and it split their careers for the next 2 decades. What followed was 22 years of silence. No roles, no public shoutouts, no collaborations. Jackson worked with everyone: Tarantino, Scorsese, Marvel, but not Spike. When Spike criticized Quentin Tarantino's use of the N-word in Django Unchained, Jackson publicly defended his director and fired a shot at Spike. It's just another way of saying Spike needs to shut the F up. That quote spread like...
I remember the conversation Jamie Foxx said he had with Leonardo DiCaprio about saying the word. All of this drama seems unnecessary, man. when you really look at it. Very unnecessary. But, you know, Samuel seems to be very, very blunt and don't bite his tongue.
Wildfire. The tension wasn't subtle anymore. It was loud. At this point, the feud became a Hollywood open secret. Some blamed Spike's ego. Others blamed Jackson's refusal to play the game. But the real issue? Control. Spike wanted loyalty. Jackson wanted freedom. And both had massive personalities unwilling to bend. Ironically, Jackson has often said that Jungle Fever, the same film that created the Cannes buzz, was also the movie that saved him. He had just gotten out of rehab before playing Gator. He was detoxing, barely functional, but he showed up. The performance was so real, some thought he was actually on crack. I didn't need makeup, I was Gator. The Fruit of Islam on set tried to kick me out. They thought I was a real addict wandering onto the set. That role changed everything. It launched him, but it also made the later betrayal cut deeper, because the man who gave him that chance now wanted him to settle for less, both financially and personally. In 2013, after more than 2 decades apart, Jackson and Lee quietly reunited for the Old Boy remake. Their wives had reconnected. They started having dinners. The wall between them slowly came down.
We had not worked together since Jungle Fever, so it was a wonderful reunion.
At one of those dinners, Spike mentioned he was remaking Old Boy. Jackson jumped at it. "Can I be in it?" And just like that, the two worked together again. Jackson later said it felt natural, easy. "He doesn't get in my way artistically," Sam told Playboy. "Whatever I come with, I come with. And it's cool, but let's be honest.
All right,
a
who
few
else,
polite
man?
dinners and one underwhelming film won't erase the past. So when did Samuel L. Jackson finally decided to speak his truth? When he dropped his list of the 5 actors he hates the most. It wasn't about settling old scores. It was about clearing the air and putting the real story out there. And make no mistake, Spike Lee is enemy number 1. Because no matter how many awards they've both won, no matter how historic their early films were, this feud was never about the work. It was about respect and who refused to give it. On paper, Quentin Tarantino and Samuel L. Jackson should be Hollywood soul.
Okay, so he never said that he hated Spike Lee, but there was some friction there. All right.
Mates. 6 collaborations, decades of loyalty, and some of the most iconic scenes in film history owe their punch to this director-actor duo. But as we've learned in Tinseltown, loyalty has a limit, especially when egos collide.
He has enough problem being vilified himself as a racist because he uses in his scripts that much, or puts those kinds of words in a character's mouth.
Behind the scenes, Jackson has always been the beating heart of Tarantino's movies. From the explosive sermons of Jules Winfield in Pulp Fiction to the cold-blooded authority of Steven in Django Unchained, no actor delivers Tarantino's long-winded, profanity-laced dialogue like Jackson.
That's a
Tarantino
fact.
himself has admitted it. Sam says it like poetry. But for a guy who craves control, that poetic delivery soon became a point of resentment. In fact, things got tense when fans began assuming Jackson was the writer, that he was improvising those legendary lines. And the worst part? In some cases, they were right. That infamous Kool and the Gang line from Pulp Fiction? Pure Jackson ad-lib. And Tarantino hated it. He fumed in an interview, saying, "I get pissed off that people think Sam came up with most of his own dialogue because I wrote Sam's dialogue. That wasn't just irritation. That was wounded pride. Tarantino's scripts are his gospel. To him, the actors are vessels, not collaborators. So watching Jackson become the mouthpiece of Tarantino's brand while getting credit for the flavor, that stung. Tarantino may have smiled through it publicly, but behind closed doors, the tension was real, and that tension only grew over time. Fast forward to 24. Pulp Fiction turns 30. Tarantino and Jackson reunite on stage at the TCM Classic Film Festival. Fans expected nostalgia. Instead, they got awkward energy and side eyes. Tarantino delivered his usual ego-stroking analysis of his films, while Jackson took a not-so-subtle dig, saying that what separates Tarantino movies from others is how much time is spent saying who you are and how you feel. Translation? Quentin, I made your characters iconic, not your camera angles.
Is not a fool of any sort. and understands a whole lot about what's going on in life and in the world.
But the real rift, it exploded when Tarantino took aim at Marvel. On a podcast, he declared that Marvel actors aren't real movie stars, just placeholders for franchise names. Jackson, who's been the face of Nick Fury for nearly 2 decades, didn't take that lightly. In fact, he clapped back live on The View, saying, "Chadwick Boseman is Black Panther. You can't refute that, and he's a movie star." The subtext was clear. You don't get...
That's a huge fact right there, because it's like once someone plays a role and they do such a great job, it's hard for you to see anybody else in that role. You know, it's extremely hard. But we're like halfway through the video, and there's only been 2 people, and he ain't said hate yet.
To erase our contributions just because you don't like capes and CGI. This wasn't a friendly disagreement. It was a battle of philosophies. Tarantino sees cinema as art. Jackson sees it as impact. And while Jackson has never needed awards to validate his legacy, he made it crystal clear. He'd rather wield a lightsaber or wear an eye patch than chase an Oscar. And that probably drives Tarantino insane. But perhaps the deepest cut? Jackson doesn't worship at the altar of Tarantino anymore. The power dynamic has shifted. The actor who once elevated Tarantino's scripts is now calling out the director's arrogance, dismissing his opinions on Marvel, and refusing to play the Hollywood politics game. Quentin may have helped Jackson go from character actor to icon, but he also tried to box him in. And Samuel L. Jackson doesn't do boxes. The bromance is fractured. The creative magic fading. And in a town full of fake smiles, Jackson just put Tarantino on notice. If you ask Samuel L. Jackson what really ignited the long, smoldering tension between him and Lawrence Fishburne, it wouldn't just be about one role. It would be about respect. And Jackson, a man known for his unfiltered opinions, never forgets when someone steps on his shine. Let's rewind. Pulp Fiction, the 1994 cult classic that made Samuel L. Jackson a household name. His character, Jules Winfield, with that legendary Ezekiel 25:17 monologue and soul-piercing stare, became one of the most iconic roles in cinema history.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Brett. You tried to...
But what most fans don't know is that role was originally offered to Lawrence Fishburne, and he turned it down. Now, here's where it gets messy. Years later,
I don't think I could see him doing it. I mean, maybe. Because now I'm thinking of Boys in the Hood, Lawrence Fishburne. But just Samuel has a way, the way he cuss, man. It reminds me of a parent that, like, I don't know, man. The emphasis he puts on it. But I'm thinking about Lawrence Fishburne when Trey came in the house and he was like, "Give me the mother gun, Trey." Like, I don't know if I could see him as Jules.
In a casual interview with Jemele Hill, Fishburne nonchalantly dropped the bomb. "I turned down Pulp Fiction. I don't regret that at all. That's the role that made Sam Jackson a star, and I contributed to that. I stayed out the way." Wait, contributed? Stayed out the way? To Jackson, that wasn't just shade. That was a straight-up ego trip. It's one thing to reject a role. It's another to act like you handed someone a career by doing it. And knowing Sam's temperament, that comment didn't sit right. Because in Jackson's world, he earned that spotlight. He owned that role. And to imply it was some kind of hand-me-down favor? That's Hollywood arrogance at its finest. But it doesn't stop there. In what fans have called one of the most awkward and viral moments in entertainment news, Jackson snapped during a live interview when a reporter confused him with, guess who? Lawrence Fishburne. Sam lit him up, live on air. "I'm not Lawrence Fishburne. We don't all look alike. We may be all black and famous, but we all don't look alike. You're busted."
You're as crazy as the people on Twitter. Right. I'm not Lawrence Fishburne.
That's my fault. I know that. That was my fault.
That moment was raw. It was real. And it screamed years of built-up frustration. Because beneath the jokes and sarcasm, there was something deeper brewing. Jackson had had enough of being confused with a man who, in his eyes, subtly disrespected him while pretending to uplift him. The line that really struck a nerve? When Fishburne said, "I contributed to that." To Jackson, it felt like a backhanded compliment, the kind that reeks of Hollywood elitism. Like he was lucky to get leftovers, like he should be grateful Lawrence passed on it.
No, I turned down Pulp Fiction.
For which role? The Sam Jackson one?
Of course.
And the irony? Fishburne didn't like Tarantino's script, said parts of it rubbed him the wrong way. But the moment that film blew up and Samuel's career took off, suddenly he's proudly connected to it by omission. Behind the scenes, insiders say these two have never spoken about it, never cleared the air, never hashed it out. It's been a cold war of subtle digs, interview shade, and awkward distance at industry events. Jackson may never say it outright, but let's be real. When someone rejects your defining role, then takes partial credit for your rise, and people still confuse the two of you, that's not just disrespectful, that's personal. And knowing how Samuel L. Jackson operates, that's enough to land you solidly on his hate list. You'd think being handpicked by George Lucas to join the Star Wars universe would be a dream come true, and for a while, it was. Samuel L. Jackson's Mace Windu became one of the most iconic Jedi Masters in Star Wars history. The purple lightsaber? That was his personal request. The attitude, the authority, the badass one-liners, all Jackson. He took what could have been just another robed background Jedi and turned him into a generational fan favorite.
In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you're under arrest.
But behind the lightsabers and epic fight scenes, there was tension. Serious tension. Because as it turns out, Samuel L. Jackson wasn't Lucas's first idea for a Jedi. He wasn't even expecting to be cast at all. Jackson just begged to be in Star Wars, literally said he'd be fine playing a stormtrooper. That's how low his expectations were. And Lucas almost offhandedly gave him a role that turned into Mace Windu. Sounds wholesome? Think again.
You know, he was writing episode 1. He said, well, I don't know, what I could do, but, I heard you like my films. I'm like, look, man, put me in one of those white suits and let me run across screen.
Fast forward to Revenge of the Sith, and the problems start bubbling. A young actor named Daniel Logan, who played Boba Fett, revealed that originally Mace Windu was supposed to die at the hands of Boba, not Palpatine. It was set up to be a powerful revenge arc, Jango Fett's son taking out the Jedi who killed his father. It was in the storyboards. It was discussed. It was planned. But Samuel L. Jackson didn't like that. According to Logan, Jackson personally went to George Lucas and said, "I don't think that some punk kid should be able to kill a Jedi Council member." Punk kid. That's what Jackson allegedly called him. The result? The entire scene was scrapped. Logan was ghosted. He waited a full year thinking he'd be called back. Instead, he was iced out, and his career took a nosedive.
I realized that he moved slow. He was a very mysterious character. But then you have to recreate him because he's not that old bounty hunter yet.
I wasn't going to say nothing because I didn't want to, bring it to y'all attention or make it bother y'all once you mention it, but I'm so glad that the music stopped. Oh, my goodness.
He's this little infamous boy who has a father that he's following around in the galaxy.
Let's be real. Star Wars is a franchise that's brought back Darth Maul after he was cut in half. But Boba Fett avenging his father? Canceled. Why? Because Jackson didn't want his character going out like that. Some fans argue it was ego. Others say he just wanted to protect the image of his Jedi. But whatever the reason, it cost Logan his breakout moment, and possibly a long-term career in live action. And here's the kicker. Jackson never addressed it publicly. No apology. No acknowledgement, just silence. Meanwhile, Logan's still talking about it at conventions, hinting that his career was ruined by Jackson's backstage power move. It's a classic Hollywood story. One actor's legacy protected, another's completely derailed. So when people ask why Jackson named George Lucas on his list, it's not about lightsabers or roles. It's about how decisions get made in dark rooms with no accountability. About power being used to rewrite stories. About one man deciding he's too big to lose. And if you think that's as messy as it gets, wait till you see who's next on the list. Because Samuel's just warming up. When two Hollywood legends, both of whom have worked with giants like Steven Spielberg and Quentin Tarantino, managed to go over 3 decades without ever sharing the screen, it's not by accident, it's by design. That's not a coincidence. That's a choice. Samuel L.
Denzel?
Jackson and Denzel Washington have one of the most fascinating relationships in the entertainment industry. Publicly, they show respect for one another. Privately, they've been longtime competitors. Both are among the only black actors in Hollywood who have consistently headlined films that gross over $100 million at the box office. In 2001, their quiet rivalry came into focus with the casting of Training Day.
Oh,
Jackson
man.
wanted the role of Alonzo Harris, the complex, corrupt cop.
This would have been... See, the reason Denzel worked so well for this movie is because Denzel, the roles he had, he wasn't doing stuff like this. I talked about that in another video where his church, they didn't want him doing this role because it was so, like, even though he's acting, it's like, it's still out of character for him. But remember, this is the role that got him, I think, an Oscar or something like that. But like, if this was Samuel L. Jackson, this would have been like, it would have been like so easy for him. That's why I think it was great for Denzel to do it. Because it was like, whoa, the way he cussing and stuff, you know. Could you imagine? Of course, anybody can imagine Samuel doing it.
The center of the film. But it was Denzel who landed the part, and his performance earned him his second Oscar. That moment made one thing clear. When it comes to serious, dramatic roles...
Second? Maybe I'm confusing him with Jamie Foxx. I thought that was the first, whatever.
Denzel Washington was still the king. Rather than compete directly, Jackson pivoted. He built his legacy in blockbuster franchises, territory Denzel has never really entered. By embracing Marvel, Star Wars, and other major cinematic universes, Jackson became the highest-grossing actor in film history, with his movies earning more than $27 billion worldwide. He didn't chase Oscars. He built an empire.
But you do watch all your films, is this right?
Yes, I do.
Like more than one?
Religiously.
Denzel Washington and Samuel L. Jackson represent two very different types of greatness. Washington built his career around dramatic, award-winning performances. He's an actor's actor, someone who disappears so completely into his roles that audiences forget they're watching Denzel. He also took control behind the scenes, launching his own production company, Monday Lane Entertainment, to shape the stories he wanted to tell. Jackson, on the other hand, became a box office titan by creating a bold, recognizable persona. He turned characters like Nick Fury and Mace Windu into pop culture icons. His smart business move with Marvel, signing one of the most actor-friendly contracts in the franchise, proved that working in big-budget blockbusters could be both creatively fulfilling and extremely profitable. If Denzel represents the purity of the craft, Jackson embodies the power of personal brand. They've both revolutionized the game, just in completely different ways. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Denzel Washington and Samuel L. Jackson being cast in the same movie isn't a dream pairing. For studios, it's a logistical and financial nightmare. Industry insiders understand this isn't about egos clashing. It's about fundamentally different styles, instincts, and audiences. Denzel avoids green screen heavy, CGI-filled blockbusters. Jackson thrives in them. Meanwhile, Jackson doesn't go after the kind of Oscar-focused dramas that Denzel dominates. Their creative choices are almost designed to avoid each other's paths.
Right.
They're not enemies. They're not friends. They're two masters of the game, each ruling his own empire, each staying in his own lane. Because merging those lanes would break the system that's made them both legends. So, there you have it. Samuel L. Jackson isn't just dropping names, he's dropping bombs. After years of industry politics, fake smiles, and behind-the-scenes betrayals, he's finally speaking his truth. Loud, unfiltered, and unapologetic. That's it for today. Tyler Perry built an entertainment empire.
Okay. So he never voiced that he hates. There was some friction with some people But overall, I think it's just that, you know, a lot of people talk about roles that they wish they could have got, or once they get a role, you know, them kind of wanting to. I mean, if you're a director, you know, I can understand the vision and stuff like that, but like a lot of times the actors, you know, be wanting to make sure they're portrayed in a good light for the most part, you know, depending on the role. But yeah, I don't think he hates these people at all, not even close. It's just like the competition, but it's all Hollywood at the same time. I'm just wondering, I was just wondering like if he was actually going to say the word and if people were going to respond to that. But hey, appreciate y'all coming over and watching, man. Peace out.